Shoo, I would not want to meet one of those fish when I was swimming, would you? They're got some big old teeth on them. That would not be pleasant to get bit by one of those. I don't think we would because they live down in a trench. They live down in the deep, deep, deep ocean. That's why there's no light. So that's why they have bioluminescence, which means they glow. And so what is a trench, though? What's a trench? Well, it's one of the vocabulary words for our story that we're going to be reading the rest of the week called Mariana Trench. So we're going to be learning about some of those animals and things that live in a deep trench of the ocean. And a trench is a long, narrow groove or ditch. In the ocean, it's very, very deep, long groove in the bottom of the ocean that goes down very deep. The runners had to be careful not to fall into the trench on the side of the road. A summit is kind of the opposite. A summit of a mountain is its top or highest point. If a trench is deep, a summit is high. He was one of the few explorers to reach the summit of Mount Everest. Summit. Down here we've got the word thrive. When living things thrive, they grow well and are healthy. Flowers should thrive if they're watered and placed in the sun. Thriving is to grow well and to be healthy. Prehistoric. Something that is prehistoric is very old from a time before history was recorded. Dinosaur fossils are from prehistoric time. They're very old. Pre means before. History is the base word there, root word. So before history was recorded. All right, prehistoric. Vital. If something is vital, it's needed or it's very important. Have you ever gone to the doctor and they say, let us check your vital signs? They check your blood pressure and your temperature and your oxygen level. Well, those are important things. You need your blood flowing through your body, right? It's vital. You need oxygen to breathe. It's vital. And you need to not have a temperature. Your temperature of your body is vital because if it gets too high, then you're very sick. Something's vital, it's needed, or it's very important. Food and water, they're vital for survival. Got several words for this story. The next one here is glimpse. Glimpse. A glimpse is a very quick look at something. When Bryson saw that pretty girl walk by, he took a quick glimpse. Sorry, Bryson, had to pick on you. Just a quick look at something. Some animals are so fast that you can only get a glimpse of them as they run or they fly past you. So a bird flying by, you just get a glimpse. Was that a bluebird? Was that a cardinal? I don't know. I just got a glimpse. Just a quick look at it. Submersible. Submersible, what does that sound like? Submarine. Yeah, sub means below or under. Mersible, that's what in the world does that mean? If something's submersible, it can go or work underwater, like a submarine, right? The vehicle was submersible to very deep parts of the ocean. So submersible kind of sounds like submarine and kind of means the same thing. Marine is a word for ocean and sub means below. So below the ocean, submersible, it can go underwater. Some of you have a cell phone, I bet, that it says it's submersible. It can go in the water. Remotely. By the way, if you don't have a cell phone that's submersible, please don't put it in the water and say Mr. Helton said to, because then you won't have a cell phone anymore. Remotely. If you use something remotely, you control it from a distance. You are learning remotely. You're learning from a distance. You are not here at school. You're at home learning. In remote learning, it's been called this year. It means you're learning from a distance. A drone is controlled remotely by its user. But some of you have had a remote controlled car where you use the remote control and drive it around. Yeah, use it remotely from a distance. I loved remote control cars growing up. What is this last word? Autonomous. Autonomous? This word is autonomous. Say that with me. Autonomous. That's a weird word. If something is autonomous, it controls itself. People send autonomous robots to areas that are too dangerous for humans. A good way to remember this word is automatic. If something's automatic, it does it by itself, right? Autonomous means it controls itself. It's taking care of itself. It's like an automatic thing. It knows it can do it by itself. Autonomous, it doesn't have anything to control it. It controls itself. Robots, the areas that are too dangerous for humans, sometimes maybe Maybe police might send a robot in if there's a bomb threat or something like that, an autonomous robot to try to disengage the bomb or something. I don't know and when that might be used, but autonomous, something that controls itself. All right, there's our vocabulary for this week. There are 9 words. That's a bunch, isn't it? Got to know those words. We'll be practicing them tomorrow, and then, of course, we'll be using them every day. And then all these words will be on your test this Friday. So make sure you know these. Like I said, you'll be practicing them tomorrow. Remember, they're in your book. And speaking of your book, please open it to page 18 for me. 18. Remember, we're in our new reading book. Okay. Yours says My Book 2. And in your My Book 2, we're on page 18, where we're preparing to read the Mariana Trench. And so all your vocabulary words are in the book, and they're on page 18. And as we go through the story, they're at the bottom of the pages there. So make sure you pay attention to that too. So this is an informational text. So it's giving us facts and examples about a topic. So we're going to learn facts about the Mariana Trench, exactly what it is, where it is, what kind of things live there. An author's purpose for writing informational text is to share facts. Okay. So author's purpose is something we've talked about. It's to give information, to inform. Authors of informational text often organize their ideas using headings and subheadings, kind of like the 7 Wonders of the World we looked at yesterday, that story that we read. And then informational text include text and graphic features. We looked at that yesterday, like the headings, subheadings, different colors. Graphic features might be pictures, illustrations, maps, such as captions, pronunciation guides, maps, photographs. All right, well, I'm anxious to get into this story. So let's dig right into the story Mariana Trench. Remember, this is on page, and this title page is 19 in your book. So open your book and read along with me. You'll be reading it by yourself tomorrow, so you need to know what page it's on anyway. Mariana Trench by Michael Woods and Mary B. Woods. Must be husband and wife. What do you think? I'm going to put my glasses on while I'm reading to help my eyes. So here we go. All right, page 20. Many people know that the highest point on Earth is at the top of Mount Everest. That famous peak towers 29,035 feet, which is 8,850 meters, above sea level. It is in the Himalayan mountains near the border of China and Nepal. But how many people can name the lowest place in the world? That point is at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, a valley in the floor of the Pacific Ocean. The trench lies just east of the Mariana Islands, southeast of China and Japan. Let me get myself out of the way. So we've got this graphic organizer here, graphic feature, this map, and it's like a 3D image, isn't it? Which is really cool because it kind of shows us the little trench in the ocean here. Can you imagine like the Grand Canyon being in the bottom of the ocean where the water just goes down, 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 down? That's deep. That's way underwater, isn't it? So here's the United States. Here's the Philippines, Australia, Japan, and China. And right between Japan and the United States, between Asia and the United States out here in the Pacific Ocean, is the Mariana Trench, this deep, deep place, the deepest place on Earth, the lowest place on Earth. Remember, your vocabulary words are right here to help you understand what they mean. They're in your book. Let's turn the page. This enormous trench extends for about 1,554 miles, or 2,500 kilometers, from one end to the other. It could stretch from New York City almost to Denver, Colorado. The trench averages about 45 miles wide. That's a big trench, isn't it? A person walking at a brisk pace would need about 10 hours to get from one side to the other. Whew. Inside that groove in the ocean floor is the Challenger Deep, the deepest spot in the world. It lies 210 miles, 338 kilometers, from the island of Guam. It's about 36,000 feet, 11,000 meters below sea level. 36,000 feet below sea level. Almost 7 miles deep. Think about something being 7 miles under the ocean. That is deep. If Mount Everest were placed in the Challenger Deep, the mountain's peak would still be under 7,000 feet of water. Man, so it's deeper than Mount Everest is high. Here's a satellite image of the deepest area of the Mariana Trench. The deepest areas appear in dark blue. So down here in this area, very, very deep. It's very wide. How wide was it from side to side? Did it say 7? How many miles was it from side to side? 45 miles wide. So 45 miles from here to here. And from one end of it to the other, it was 1,554 miles. So you go from New York all the way to Denver, it said, more than halfway across the United States. That is a big trench. Oh, almost missed this. Mount Everest, the highest point on Earth, lies between the border of Nepal and Tibet. Here's some of those weird creatures. I think we saw that one in our video. Anglerfish. Flashlight fish have glowing patches just beneath their eyes. Isn't that cool? Weird creatures. Conditions are very harsh at the summit of Mount Everest. Temperatures average negative 33 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 36 degrees Celsius, and winter winds howl at more than 100 miles an hour. Yet climbers have reached the top and lived to tell about it. Can you imagine? It's cold outside when it's 33 degrees above freezing. This is 33 degrees below freezing. But no human, not even an expert diver, could survive the environment of the Challenger Deep. In this pitch black world, the temperature is about 36 degrees Fahrenheit. The human body shuts down quickly in water that cold. A person on the ocean floor also would be crushed by the weight of the water. Water is heavy. A 1-gallon milk jug holds about 8 pounds of water. So when you get a gallon of milk at the grocery store, that's about 8 pounds of water. At the deepest point in the ocean, water would press down with a weight heavier than hundreds of elephants. Because you have all that water above your head when you're getting deeper, 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 that water is actually pushing down on you and it would squish you. More than hundreds of elephants. Imagine hundreds of elephants sitting on your head. That's what it would feel like. It'd squash you. Ever wonder? Why is it pitch dark at the deep ocean? In the deep ocean. In the oceans, deeper means dimmer. Water absorbs and scatters sunlight, so little light remains after 660 feet. Beyond that depth is a twilight zone where the human eye cannot see colors. This zone of faint light goes down to about 3,300 feet. The midnight zone from there on down is in total darkness. That is creepy. You couldn't go that deep anyway, but I wouldn't want to be in that deep of water in the dark with these things swimming around me, even though they light up. An anglerfish uses its natural fishing pole to lure prey into its mouth. It's like, come here, fishy, fishy. However, living things do thrive, and that means they survive well in the Mariana Trench. Some creatures look like deep-sea movie monsters or survivors from prehistoric times. These animals and plants are specially built for life in an extreme environment. Some can produce a glowing light like fireflies. This is called bioluminescence. Say that word, bioluminescence. Bio is living, to illuminate or illuminate is to shine light. So bioluminescence. Creatures use this light to attract prey. Anglerfish have bioluminescence built-in fishing poles. In some of these fish, the pole is like an antenna growing from the top of the head. The rod glows in the dark water. The anglerfish waves it to attract other fish. When a fish approaches, the angler snaps up the prey in its huge mouth, packed with long, needle-sharp teeth. Yikes, scary looking. Flashlight fish also live in the Mariana Trench. That's this little guy right here. Like the anglerfish, they are bioluminescent. The flashlight fish lurks in the dark water and turns its light on and off. When a curious fish approaches, it becomes dinner. Certain types of crabs and bacteria thrive in the Mariana Trench. Scientists had never seen some of these until fairly recent deep-sea explorations. This is because the creatures can't exist anywhere else. The extreme temperatures and pressure of the deep ocean are vital to these organisms. So we talked about animal adaptation. So these animals, like the anglerfish, the flashlight fish, these crabs and bacteria that live down in the bottom of the trench, they're adapted to live there. So if you took them out of the water that's that deep and that cold, they would die because their bodies are adapted to live there. It's a world as strange as that of Mars. William Beebe, an explorer, described the deep ocean after setting a world record in 1934 by diving to 3,028 feet in a submersible, a small submarine. All right, getting interesting. Let's see what's on the next page here. Challenger looks deep. The Mariana Trench was discovered in 1875. Scientists on the British ship HMS Challenger used a machine to measure the ocean depth in different places. The machine unreeled a spool of wire with heavy weight at the end. Dials measured the length of the wire let out. When the weight touched the bottom, scientists could tell the depth of the ocean floor. With that simple method, they realized that the water near the Mariana Islands was extremely deep. In 1951, the British Royal Navy vessel HMS Challenger II returned to the area with a modern measuring device. It's called echo sounding or sonar. It sends out sound waves that bounce off a surface such as the seafloor. Scientists measured the time needed for sound waves to bounce back from the seafloor to the ship. This told them the ocean depth. Using echo sounding, Challenger 2 mapped the entire Mariana Trench. The deepest point it found was 35,760 feet. That point was named the Challenger Deep after the ship. Now, I was wondering why it was called that. So it was named for the ship that discovered it, the Challenger. The moon over Mariana. 12 U.S. astronauts have been on the moon. They explored the moon's surface in the 1960s and 1970s during the Apollo space program. However, only 2 people have ever visited the deepest place on Earth. Don Walsh, bottom right, and Jacques Piccard spent just 20 minutes there during their descent in the Triste submersible in 1960. Whew. So more people have been on the moon than have been down in the Mariana Trench. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? That's how extreme it is. All right, here's a deep sea submersible collecting samples from the bottom of the Mariana Trench using a robotic arm. People got their first glimpse of the Challenger Deep in 1960. That year, scientists Jacques Piccard and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh traveled to the bottom. Excuse me. They rode in the Trieste, a submersible vehicle. Lots of vocabulary words on this page, don't we? Small submarines of this kind are built to withstand extreme underwater pressure. They usually carry scientific instruments for exploring the deep ocean. Piccard and Walsh found a point deeper than Challenger 2 had found. It was 35,813 feet below the surface. They also observed small fish near the ocean floor. Since then, oceanographers have used other vehicles and instruments to explore the deep ocean. Some are remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs. Scientists control these through cables from a ship on the surface. Others are autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs. These explore on their own without any connection to another ship. AUVs navigate with onboard computers and record data from the areas they explore. In the 1990s, several Japanese ROVs explored the Mariana Trench. They observed shrimp, sandworms, and other living things. The ROV Kaiko scooped up samples of mud from the trench floor for scientists to study. Scientists found tiny organisms in those samples that are Earth's deepest living creatures. That's all your vocabulary right there. This is so interesting. Plates so deep. The Mariana Trench is so deep because of movement in Earth's surface. Many huge plates of rock make up the surface. This sounds like science from a couple months ago, doesn't it? Earth's crust or outer layer forms the top of each plate. The bottom of each plate is part of Earth's mantle, the thick layer below the crust. The plates float on a layer of putty-like rock in the mantle. While floating, the edges of these plates slide past one another and bump into one another. At the Mariana Trench, a heavy plate of rock on the ocean floor is pressing against a plate of lighter rock. When this happens, the heavier ocean plate plunges downward at a steep angle into the Earth's mantle. The bottom of the Mariana Trench is where that heavy plate of rock is moving down into the mantle. Plate movements have formed more than 20 other deep ocean trenches in different parts of the world. The Puerto Rico Trench, for instance, is the deepest place in the Atlantic Ocean. It lies north of the island of Puerto Rico. The trench is about 5 miles deep and 1,100 miles long. Puerto Rico, not too far from Florida. Mariana Trench Expressway. Navy submarines patrolling the world's oceans like to stay in deep water. It's more difficult for enemies to detect them there. That's why U.S., Russian, and other submarines often use the Mariana Trench as an expressway. The trench is the main north-south route for submarines in the Pacific Ocean. So submarines like to go down into the trench to stay hidden from enemies, I guess. At the Mariana Trench, the movement of ocean plates into the Earth's mantle created many underwater volcanoes. This cliff near the Mariana Trench shows layers of light and dark ash collected on the seafloor during eruptions. So, pretty interesting. Layers of lava that's been collected and ash. Worries about the wonder? The future of the Mariana Trench seems very safe. Neither people nor nature threatens its existence. Ships sailing over the area do not cause any damage to the trench. However, movements of the Earth's plates may eventually change the Mariana Trench. In millions of years, it may be deeper or shallower, but it's sure to remain a wonder that holds many secrets of the deep. This little text says the Mariana Trench is not threatened by humans, but the Mariana Islands on its edge are home to many endangered species of fish and marine plants. We've talked about endangered animals in science too. In 2009, the Mariana Trench Marine National Monument was established. It protects the Mariana Islands, the trench, and the underwater volcanoes. So what do you think about that story? Informational text. It wasn't like fictional characters and some crazy story happening. It was informational, learning about the Mariana Trench. I found it very interesting. I wasn't so sure when I started reading, but then I thought it got pretty interesting as we were learning about the fish and how deep it was. And I didn't know that only 2 people had ever been to the bottom of it there. That was pretty amazing. Well, today for me, I want you to do a couple things. Excuse me, got a little cough. I would like for you today to do the spelling practice. Forgive me, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. There we go. I want you to do spelling practice with our words that have those strange sounds in them, the k, and qu sound. So you've got a spelling practice on that today. But I want to do something with you real quick, and I want to read some paragraphs to you. And I'm going to read 2 paragraphs, and I want you to listen closely and see if you can decide what detail in this paragraph does not belong. So the first paragraph I want to read to you is called Good Friends. And here's what it says. Emily and Tanya are good friends. There's our main idea, our topic sentence. Here are the details. They play games, ride their bikes, and go to the park together. Tanya's dog can run very fast. Emily and Tanya ride the bus to school together. They spend their night at each other's houses. Did you hear a sentence that didn't really fit in that paragraph? A detail that didn't describe the topic about Emily and Tanya being good friends? Let me read it one more time. They play games, ride their bikes, and go to the park together. Tanya's dog can run very fast. Emily and Tanya ride the bus to school together. They spend the night at each other's houses. I bet you got it that time, didn't you? What does Tanya's dog being able to run fast have to do with them being friends, right? That's not a detail that should be supporting this main idea of them being friends. It's a neat fact that Tanya's dog can run fast. It's about Tanya, but it doesn't have anything to do about the topic of Emily and Tanya being good friends. So that one didn't belong. Let me read another one to you. This one's called Going Swimming. I'm going swimming at the pool at the park. I have my swimsuit and a big towel. Mom gave me money for a snack. Hippos swim in the river. My dad is going to drive me there. It will be a lot of fun. Did you get it? This one's about going swimming. Well, it talked about something else going swimming, a hippo swimming in a river, but that's not got anything to do about this little boy who wants to go swimming, does it? It's just a fact about swimming that doesn't belong to the topic sentence. I'm going swimming at the pool in the park. Hippos swimming in rivers doesn't have anything to do with that topic. So that's not a detail that belonged in that paragraph. Well, how about this paragraph right here that I'm going to assign to you today? It's called a new pet. Can you find the sentence that doesn't belong? I would like to have a new pet. I have a cat and a dog. Goldfish and birds would be good pets. Birthdays are fun. Maybe I'll get a hamster or a rabbit. So there's a sentence in here, a detail that does not belong to the topic sentence, having a new pet. Okay? So what I want you to do is color the sentence that doesn't belong. So here's how you do that. You just, if you think it was I have a cat and a dog, that's not it. But if you think it was, you're just going to highlight that sentence, click and drag over it and highlight that sentence and then choose and make it a different color. Why don't you choose yellow? That will be good that I can see that you've made that one disappear. Don't choose black because it's already black, and don't choose white. Choose a color, okay? So pick that sentence that you think doesn't belong, click the little A and change its color, okay? And I'll see if you got it right or wrong. But then we need to practice typing the paragraph 2 today. So since we read this about a new pet, I'm going to let you write a paragraph about your pet. So over here, there we go. You make it left aligned for you. There we go. You need to indent, just hit the tab button. And then you need to think of a topic sentence that you could write about your pet. You might have a topic sentence that says, I enjoy playing with my dog Moose. Bella would write that, right? And then she could tell what she does with Moose. You might could say, I love my cat Shasta. And then you can tell why you loved your cat Shasta. That's my cat, by the way. Shasta is furry. Shasta is soft. Those are baby sentences, aren't they? We need to remember to put some adjectives and describing words in there. But you get the idea, okay? So give me a paragraph today about your pet. I want you to focus now as you're typing this. Capitalize your sentences. Put punctuation at the end of your sentences. I know you're typing, but even though you've not been in school since 3rd grade, none of those things have changed. You've still got to capitalize sentences and have punctuation. Just because you're typing doesn't change. So make sure you do that or I can't give you a 100, all right? So give me a paragraph about your pet, do your spelling practice, and then you will have everything done for ELA today. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.